fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kiru's show here, and now, whenever we last left off with this series, we had Deku. And well, quite a bit of things have happened. Now, in the last part, Deku saved everyone during the forest training camp, where he took out the villains and was briefly able to drive back the Nomu by sending them back to the portal All For One did make. Now, in doing so, Deku arrived at the Nomu factory, where he took out Kirigiri, the doctor started to run off, and All For One did reveal their true nature. Now, this person is going to be quite interesting. The boy standing before them, they're claiming to be Seiso Shigaraki, the man they murdered 200 years ago. The stance, the resemblance, the face, the mannerisms, the quirk, the timing, all of it adds up. It's just too perfect to pass up. Seiso Shigaraki started to act up inside of his cage. Then this boy pops up? It's just fate, isn't it? If they kill Shigaraki once more, then they'll have control over All For One for what? Another 100 years before he pops up another 200? These two brothers are so interesting to her. The fact is that not even death can stop their bond. They'll just keep coming back after one another. It's so interesting. She's glad she picked the right one. Now, with that being said, we do actually have where Deku and All For One did go rushing towards each other, as All For One does present a different sort of weapon. Now, Deku gets sent flying backwards to the building, as we do actually have outside where everything was normal. Now, all of a sudden Deku gets sent flying through the air, and Deku is trying to recover using floats. Now, you do actually then have where Deku does go to bring up his hands and throw them outwards, latching onto multiple buildings as his body does finally stop and Deku does actually sit still for a second, before actually going to blast flames out of his palms and throw himself backwards more, as Deku does finally go to pull forwards and go launching off. Now, everyone they did just see that. Two quirks. Now, reports would immediately start coming in, as we do actually have where Yue, they're trying to deal with the fact that Deku just went missing. And then reports do come in that the next city over, this is all happening. Now, it was kind of intense, since you do actually have All Might, who, yeah, he's on his way. Now, we actually do have Deku, where he does go rushing in against All For One. And you do actually have where he does step out to reveal that he's a little bit upgraded. Now, he has the All Might killing weapon on his side, along with a quirk he wouldn't pass up for the life of him. Adding it to the weapon just adds more power. Muscular's quirk. Now, Deku, yeah, he's very surprised. That quirk is the same one that one guy had. However, an 80% smash should take him down. He just has to combine Fa Jin, but he's pretty sure that guy died. Or no, is he still alive? Shit. No, wait, that would be too much. But All For One's body, he has multiple quirks. Would there be one to defend? Maybe. No. Now, Deku, he does come rushing with a 50% smash to test the waters, as All For One is actually going to bring up his fist and directly collide with Deku's. Now, the immense air pressure and force does actually shoot out of their battle, and you do actually have where Deku does go to bring up his other hand to go for an attack, as All For One will go to do the exact same thing. Now, Deku, yeah. Him and All For One do keep colliding. And there's actually whenever Deku gets sent flying backwards, along with All For One being sent flying the other direction. Deku going into a flip motion as he does directly blast flames out of his feet to boost forwards in the air. And All For One is just paying attention. The boy, he doesn't have that quirk, or that's not one of the previous user's quirks, so it must be his original. Now, Deku does go flying as he does directly rush close into All For One, going to pick him up as he does directly fly up into the air. Now, All For One is going to bring up the large hand, since he knows exactly what Deku is doing. He's trying to get him away from civilians. Hero to his core, isn't he? Now, All For One does go to bring up a large fist, smashing downwards into Deku's back as Deku he does still try to hang on. Now, you do actually have where Deku does go to let go, as he doesn't go to blast his hands outwards as All For One is falling towards the ground. Now, Deku does catch All For One, as he does have the man hanging by his legs. And they're both high up in the air. So tell me, exactly who are you? You wish to know that now? Yes, I do. You're possessing my brother's body, aren't you? Clever. Yes, I am. Tell me. I've no memory of you. Not even the Yoshi in my head does. How does that work? I'm not explaining that to you. You're the one answering questions here. Ah, I see. Well, it was so easy. The deranged, insane, sensitive little puppy. He was so easy to manipulate. You brought him right to me. What? Oh, you don't remember. It's therapy. No. Deku, he does just somewhat think, as the Yoshi inside of Deku's mind does remember. Therapy. The doctor. The doctor disappeared as soon as All For One popped up. This personality shift of his, when he went full-blown lunatic mode. Now, Deku is just trying to think. How is that possible? Transferring consciousness? Oh, I see you're curious. It's a bit of a complicated process. However, I'm not going to share that with you. You yourself are on a time limit too, aren't you? Now, Deku is very confused, as he looks over spikes to go shooting out of All For One's weapon, and Deku does actually go to fly backwards and avoid the attack, letting go of All For One as he does go flying towards the ground. Now, Deku he does look downwards, and he does go to rush in. Now, you do actually have where All For One does start to use Nana Shimura's quirk. And Deku, whenever he does see All For One completely almost stop, he does just go in and try to blast his hands out backwards. All For One rushing forwards as he does collide with Deku's face, sending him higher up into the air, before quickly trying to move in. Now, the battle in the air does somewhat wage on, until eventually Deku is sent flying towards the ground and smashes through a building, as he does shatter one floor of it and does start to collapse into another one. Now, as that does actually happen, you do have where Deku, he does then actually start to have a bit of a problem. Whenever he does get up, he can actually hardly see out of one of his eyes. As he does try to open it, he does find that his vision is starting to get weird. As you actually where All For One does come blasting through the wall behind Deku, as he's going to actually spin around and use a black whip. Deku slashing at the things on the mask as he's sent flying backwards with a punch. Now, Deku does go smashing into the wall, before he does go, lunging forwards and onto his knees. Deku actually coughing up a bit of blood, as Deku does go to bring his hand up and look down at it. All For One just looking at Deku, as he does go to actually grab the tubes on his mask. I see. Now I'm on a time limit. You're not gonna win. Oh, I'm not the only one on a time limit. Now, Deku's very confused, but he does just look back down at his hand. This is blood from his mouth, right? Now, all for one, they do start to goad Deku on. He's such an idiot, isn't he? Taking on that quirk with another quirk already on top of it? He's practically suicidal. Now, Deku's very confused, as All for One does continue on with the explanation. If Deku can truly talk to Yoshi, or if he really even is Yoshi, then what? There should be other people in there, right? Or is he wrong? Hmm? What do you mean? You gain the memories of their quirks, meaning you also gain them. Yeah? So, talk to number 4. He should have told you about his early death. What are you talking about? Oh, I see. He's neglected, hasn't he? Or you just simply don't know. The 4th user of One for All, they died prematurely. What? Yes, he did. Too much power for a regular body. Didn't have the advantage of a storage-based quirk. You see, where your quirk, it's made for your body, taking on One for All is not. Prematurely, it's like burning a flame too fast. You understand that example, don't you, young man? I do. Okay, good. Then you basically know exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to die. I see. Well, I already had a week left to live anyways, didn't I? Oh, that's interesting. So all I have to do is retreat and wait you out. That's no fun. Who said I was going to let you retreat? Deku just bring up his hands, as he does go to do one simple thing. He does create an entire smoke screen around the area, and all for one who does not have Surge is somewhat surprised. Now, you do actually have where Deku does start to use combo moves, or skills he can use in tandem with both of his quirks. Now, Deku, yeah. He noticed a lot of heroes come up with these strange moves. And whenever he did start to develop his own quirks, he did use some of them in his own personal training. Now, we do actually have where Deku, he does start to attack all for one, from multiple directions in the smoke. Now, all for one, they get attacked by Black Whip, it lashing at them and directly going to slash into their back. As you do actually have where all for one is going to turn that way and try and use the air cannon to attack. As Deku, he does then go to blast fire directly at all for one and into the side. All for one sweeping that direction as he does move the smoke. Now, you do actually have where a black figure does go rushing towards all for one. All for one actually turning in the corner of his vision and going to actually lash his hands out to attack that thing. As you do actually have where a copy or a outline of Deku in the smoke does come through, made of Black Whip. All for one sweeping away as you have the real Deku, who does come rushing in forwards and directly in front of all for one, going to send in a large 80% smash directly into the gut, before bringing up his hand and creating claws of Black Whip. Deku actually lashing his fingers across the other wires on the mask is just going to rip it off. Now, as it does happen, all for one does actually go to bring up her hand, or his hand, directly going to try and stab Deku with a, let's just say, a large spike. Now, Deku, he actually does somewhat move out of the way, using Danger Sense. However, all for one almost matches Deku's speed. All for one actually being able to slice into Deku's side and directly cut open a part of his waist. Now, as that does happen, we do actually where Deku, he does go trying to retreat, as he does go to try and bring up his hand to cauterize the wound. Now, Deku, he is trying to hide his, well, scream, as he's trying to strategize and think, okay, this isn't too good. He's able to dodge his attacks. He's able to plan things out. He can find him. He can almost match him in speed, and his strength is overwhelming. That weapon's made to kill All Might, along with that additional quirk on top of it. It's too dangerous for him to face directly. Okay, you have to think. Now, this is actually where the second user of One For All would pop out of Deku, as Deku does directly see the man who does go to bring up his hand. Perhaps my quirk can be of assistance here. Second? Yeah. Kid, you're not thinking about this the right way. Okay, hang on. You're gonna let me use your quirk. Yes, I am. Look at you. You're already pretty banged up. Besides, you're going in a direct confrontation. You've done more damage here, sneaking around and using the quirks differently. You've done more damage here doing that than you have directly fighting him. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I see. So, that's what I need to do, right? Yeah. Now, my quirk, however. The man going to bring up his hand, as he does show Deku his gauntlet. This is it. What? Come on, kid. You can't be that stupid. No. What you need to do is take your wrist, bend your arm into a fist, bend your hand into a fist, and then go to actually move your wrist downwards, or move it upwards, bending your fist down. Whenever you do that, you'll shoot a beam of light. You might shoot a few if you're able to get it off in rapid succession. What? Yeah, kid. That's my quirk. However, you gotta be aware. It's pretty dangerous. You can't exactly see the beam, so you don't know exactly where your target is unless you directly aim for it. Now, Deku just does look down at his arms. Okay. I have second's quirk. Now, Deku just does look towards a wall. He can barely see it, but I'm going to actually bring up his hand and hold outwards. Him throwing a fist is going to actually throw his fist downwards, and his wrist does actually have a strange feeling. Now, Deku does watch as a hole is punched into the wall. And Deku, he does just stare at that. Okay, maybe this could work. Let's see. Now, you actually have All For One, who he's about to actually bring up his hands to attack with air cannon. He's tired of all this smoke everywhere, and he can't really see too well. Now, we actually have Deku, who he does actually go to move in forwards and rush in, as Deku just does do one thing. As he does getting close, Deku does just do one thing. He does directly smash his hands together with a clap, and off when he does actually hear that loud sound. Now, Deku, after he does do that, he does just do one thing, as he's actually going to spin his body around and directly kick it All For One, as Deku does actually going to blast out fire and flames. Now, Deku just set the building on fire, and he's just starting to wait now. More smoke, more smoke, more smoke. Now, Deku does start to use float, as he does start to create the copies using Black Whip. Now, he's starting to do a little new trick. He'll call this one Puppet Master. Whenever he got in close to All For One, he connected something to him. However, he just hopes that the man didn't notice it. Now, you do actually have the copies or the things that do attack All For One. And All For One, he is directly bombarded, thinking that this is Deku using a new form of speed, or using Fudging in conjunction. Now, we do actually have Deku who does start to try and line up a shot. He's trying to think. Okay, he can feel where his duplicates are. He can feel them attacking All For One. So, he just needs to get this shot off, and maybe, just maybe, this being where All Might he does show up. Now, All Might does directly come busting through the wall, and as he does so, a lot of wind pressure does punch all the smoke and flames out of the building. As Deku does directly turn his head to see All Might, and he does actually go to try and bring up his hand to tell him to stop. Now, All Might he's rushing towards All For One. All For One turning towards All Might, he does go rushing in to attack him. Now, you do actually have Deku. His plan was simple. He was going to try and wound All For One non-fatally. Shit, if All Might is here, he's going to. Now, you do actually have Deku's emotions, which, yikes. He's been able to control them for quite a bit of time, but right now, that's not too good. Now, you do actually have Black Whip, which was shooting out of Deku's hand, which is currently starting to bust through his clothing or bust through his left hand, and actually starting to lose control of it a bit. Now, All Might does directly turn to see that, as he's still fighting with All for One. Now, Deku just does one thing. He does try to grab up at his left arm, as he's telling All Might that he needs to be careful, not to kill him. As All Might does watches Deku just go leaping backwards out of the building. Now, Deku is trying to understand what just happened. He doesn't get it. He was just in control. What is this? Now, Black Whip is starting to take Deku for a bit of a wild ride, and Deku is just trying to calm himself down. Now, Deku's emotions, yeah, they were just felt by the power, completely unfiltered, and it's starting to run wild. Now, Black Whip is starting to tear apart and directly smash into multiple buildings, as it's just trying to tear up everything around it. You do actually have our heroes, they are recording in a helicopter. And there actually is where it's on television. Now, the heroes are talking about how it appears that the mysterious person or mysterious individual, they are now running rampant on a rampage. And it does actually cut to a visual of Deku, who he's trying to grab away at his left arm and trying to actually stop the power. Now, the person they're staring at Deku, as they do notice that he's struggling with his arm, and they're just quite curious, as Deku actually is going to turn his face upwards, and the person they would directly see him, as they talk about how that's Mr. Midoriya, or Izuku Midoriya, the UA security guard. As Deku does directly go to actually open his mouth and shout, "Run!" Now, they're all quite confused, as Blackwood will start shooting upwards towards the sky, and going to actually reach out for the helicopter. Now, with that, we actually have where, All for One, he does engage All Might, and the two are currently battling it out. Now, All Might, yeah, the improved All for One is too much for him. The two, they do appear to be dead even. However, All for One, he does just start to increase the muscle fibers he's able to produce using Muscular's quirk. And the tide does quickly start to turn. Now, with that being said, the building they're all currently in, it's being torn apart floor by floor. And there's actually Deku, who he does get an unlikely encounter. Whenever the Black Whip was rushing for the helicopter, you actually have a pro hero who did come flying in. And Deku actually reach out and Deku go to grab Deku's arm. Now, Deku would have turned his head to see Endeavor. Now, Endeavor, he does just stare down at Deku, as Deku is just looking up towards the man and trying to actually hold onto his elbow, preventing his arm from bending and moving in a different way. Now, Endeavor's just trying to tell this kid, get a hold of himself, and ask him if he is a hero. I'm not a hero. You are the security guard for UA, are you not? You've fought with All Might before. You've fought against the Nobu. I have, yes, but this is different. You are not worthy of that title. Now, Deku just staring at, well, Endeavor, as the man is trying to berate and insult him. He's losing control of a little power? Are you kidding me? He's having quirk difficulties now at a critical point in the battle? He should be ashamed of himself. Now, Deku's turning his head, looking at the man who he is actually one of his favorite heroes. Deku, he does still love All Might, but this man they share a different power. They share the same power. Firepower. Now, Deku does actually bring up, well, his left arm, as he started to produce flames from it. Now, Deku is just thinking, if he can produce flames from his body, then he can just start to cut away Black Whip. Now, Deku, he does find that after a minute or two, this is successful. Before he does actually go to jump off the building and try to get back into the battle. Now, we actually do have Endeavor, who he does turn to the helicopter and inform them to get the hell out of here, since there's currently too much going on, and they will most likely crash. Now, Endeavor and many other pros do start to evacuate civilians, as we actually do have where Deku and All Might are facing off against All for One, and the amount of damage that's being thrown around, yeah. Canon Camino is, let's just say, about a third of this. Now, this is where Deku and All Might, they're facing off against All for One. Deku and All Might, they're both going at their full powers, and All for One is actually struggling very much. Even with the amped up power and just going further and further, the amount of quirks they have, they're not enough. This was only supposed to kill All Might. However, going up against two one-for-all users, that's too much. Now, you do actually have All for One, who they do just think, All Might, he's approaching the limit, isn't he? They know about it. He has to be. Now, we actually have All Might, who does actually go to produce a smash. As he does go to do so, you do actually have where he does actually leave his guard open. All for One actually going to bring up one of his fingers as it does turn directly into a spike. It blasting outwards and directly shooting right into All Might's weak spots. Now, as it does happen, you actually have where All for One does go to turn his hand and directly rip open All for One's rib, or All Might's rib, along with his flesh. Now, Deku would have turned his head to directly see that, as you do actually have where a spike is directly run into Deku's gut. And Deku does just look down, as he does see that All Might killing weapon, it's been turned into what appears to be a large metal spike. Now, the spike's been extended and directly stabbed into him, as Deku does look down at it and then go to look up at All for One. Now, All for One does just start to begin the villain monologue. Deku has lost. He should be aware. This isn't some little game. She's not toying with them. She's trying to actually kill them. He doesn't really understand that, does he? He's been brainwashed by this stupid society, hasn't he? He's a hero, at heart, at a fault, isn't that right? Growing up, he must have been exposed to heroes very much. He must have wanted to become one. And what happened to him now? He's going to die. Now, you actually have where Deku does go to bring up one of his hands. And you actually have where he does do the thing with his wrist, directly blasting right into All for One's left arm, and directly cutting off or severing the entire part of the body on that side. Now, All for One actually does go to look that direction, as you actually have where Deku does go rushing in. Now, Deku does directly grab onto the spike and force it deeper into his gut, as he does directly move forwards before getting and directly doing a 100% smash right into All for One's gut. Now, this power does break Deku's arm, and the amount of wind pressure does send All Might flying out of the building. Now, we do actually have Deku and All for One. After Deku did send the smash directly into All for One's body, yeah, it was quite a bit much. Now, Deku did just go to bring up his other hand, as he did directly do a 100% smash right into his brother's jaw, as he does knock some more sense in All for One. Now, this is where Deku and All for One, the floor would collapse, and the building is starting to crumble, as Deku and him do go sliding down as the floor collapsed and Deku go flying out of the building. Now, Deku is trying to use his quirk. He's trying to fly, as he do actually have where he does go to grab onto the spike or directly grab onto his brother's arm. And the two do go flying through a building, smashing through the rooftop as they do fly through about 4 to 5 floors. Now, we do actually have where the building they're in, or the building they were just in, it actually is starting to collapse onto the one they're on, as the heroes are trying to speculate what's going on. Now, we do actually have inside where Deku and All For One, yeah. Both these two are on their final legs. And we do actually have where Deku, he's just staring at All For One. The two, they managed to survive. And, well, he's got 2 broken arms and an open gut wound. So, did it knock some sense into you? Hmm? Who? Where am I? Did it work? Yoshi? I see. I... Just the last thing I remember. We... The doctor. Hmm? Did it work? Now, Yochi's just staring at Deku. This is Yoshi. But that's not right. The last memory he had, he just killed his brother. And he looks so young here. Him looking down at his hands. The spike. Now, he does just stare at Deku, as Deku does inform him to not turn off that quirk. What? Why? Because I'll die if you do. But you're gonna die anyways. You're losing blood. So, tell me, did she let you into the light? Or did you take it from her? Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to figure that all out. This is too much to process. So, which is it? We all took it from her. What? All of us. Everyone, they're holding her down. All of the people inside of our heads. They're helping. I didn't mean to hurt them. Yoshi, you forgive me, right? I'm sorry for killing you. I'm sorry for doing this. Please. Seisho. I'm not mad. In fact, I'm not really Yoshi. I do possess his memories. I possess his face. I possess the quirk. I possess the gift. But I'm already gonna die. I don't have much time left anyways. Call it some sick twist of fate. I got 1 week left anyways. With these injuries, I'd say just got a few minutes. How about you? Now, Deku does look down. The holy punched in All For One. He completely demolished his large intestine, lower intestine, his kidneys, and he's pretty sure a part of his lungs may be damaged. However, he's not exactly too sure. Now, Seisho does look down, as he does try to examine the injuries in the bloody clothes. I can't even feel them. Pain tolerance quirk. Lucky you, because this hurts like hell. Yoshi. Now, he does want his Deku's nose to start to bleed. Deku just going to try and bring up his left hand. Now, Deku does go to look down at his right hand, as he does move his fingers, before looking at his left hand, and trying to move his fingers. They're not moving. Shit. I'm dying. Okay. I can fix this. I don't think you can. I can. Trust me. Now, Deku, he does start to have a searing pain shoot through his brain, as you do actually have All For One, who he does go to reach out for his brother, talking about how he can save him. Now, with that being said, this is where we actually will cut to some time later, where we do actually have somebody who's standing in the town square. And well, it's quite intense. They're just trying to think. 7 years ago, the battle that determined hero society happened here. And 7 years ago, a hero did fall. Now, Melissa Shield, she's staring at the statue that is erected here. Now, she's just trying to think. It was a very sad day when it happened. A body was found among the rubble. It was All Might's. The man lost his life. She's not exactly too sure as to how, but he's gone. It's hard to believe Uncle All Might died. Now, you do actually have where Deku, he actually just come walking up, holding up a cup of coffee. Melissa, hi. Did I disturb your thought? I'm fine. Are you? Yeah, I'm okay. Now, Deku is just going to bring up his hand, wrapping his arm around her, telling her that she's not. He can clearly tell that she's not. It's just, I'm replaying that day in my head. I was just so scared. I understand. I was too. He did it, you know. Hmm? What are you talking about? There's a little bit more to the story. You know how I told you I won and you found me whenever I crawled back to UA? Yeah, then we performed the surgery on you. Yeah. Seisho gave me a bit of a gift, you can call it. I used it to my best ability. Now, Deku just hold up his hand. As you actually have where an ice quirk does actually shoot out of it. And unless he's just staring at Deku's hand. That quirk, it's from a villain I encountered. It took some modification, but I'm able to use it this way. You sound like Todoroki. I know. But still. The gift he gave me. The gift Yoshi gave me. They're amazing. Now, you do actually have where a kid does come running up, as he's holding the hand of a little girl. And Deku does turn his head to directly go to shoot out Black Whip, as he does catch both kids. Now, Deku does turn his head. Seisho, I told you not to run. But Dad, she's going too slow. No. Deku does turn his head, saying another name. Let's just say the name of Melissa's mother. I don't know it. Talking about how she is still learning how to walk. Dad, cut her some credit, okay? Besides, here you don't want to run. Here you kind of just want to stand here and watch as the world just pass. Now, Deku's just starting to think. Yoshi did free him. Yoshi, he let him go. Deku, whenever his mind almost fried during the battle, something happened. He doesn't know if it was because of his brother or because of the surgery, or possibly all for one's quirk. But whenever the two did mix in inside his body, they created something that kept him alive. Now, Deku does just wonder. It could have also been the regeneration quirk. It could have fixed something inside of his head. It's too much to try and think about. There's just so many different variables. Now, Melissa does turn her head and look directly at Deku. You're in deep thought again, aren't you? Huh? Sorry, yeah. I am. By the way, is my coffee decaf? You noticed? Now, Melissa just just does give Deku a look. Of course I noticed. Sorry. I thought you wouldn't. You know there's still time before I can't have this, right? Uh, I'm just being careful, Melissa. I know, I know. No. The two do go to walk away. As Deku, he does enjoy his life. Deku's the number one pro, out of the public's eye. Now, what I mean by that is, Deku, yeah. Technically, people believe him to be dead. And Yue, they did think that this was a unique opportunity for Izuku. Deku, he can do one of two things. He can slip underground, since he does possess all for one and one for all. Now, he could either do this or try to become a hero. However, if he does try to become a hero with all for one's quirk, many things can happen. It will be very challenging, and Deku himself will go through a lot. Now, Deku did accept these ideas, and he even did propose one to Nezu. Deku, he can be a pro. However, if Nezu just does give him his license, Deku can skip the whole hero course stuff. Now, Nezu was quite confused, and Deku would have explained it. With the way things are currently going and crime being on the rise, people need somebody to look towards. Endeavor isn't the best example. So, how about Deku steps in right now as a symbol of peace, or at least a rising symbol? Now, Nezu doesn't really know what to do with this idea, and Deku he would explain. If people they see somebody who fought with All Might, or at least was there whenever All Might was taken down, a lot of things can happen. People can look towards him as a pro hero who fought, and a lot of things will happen then. Now, Nezu, yeah. He did decide to somewhat authorize this. Deku, he can be a pro. However, for right now, he does have to work undercover. Now, in this amount of time, Deku's done quite a bit. After Deku got the surgery done, he talked to Nezu about this. Then afterwards, he helped Sornada in his investigation to save Eri. That being where Deku he did take down Overhaul. And yeah, more and more things did begin to happen, as he did eventually take out Tomura Shigaraki, and even the Meta Liberation Army, along with many other enemies that would come. Now, people they've tried describing whatever took them down. All of them have one thing to say about it. It's an overwhelming force of nature. It's unlike anything they've ever seen. And whatever it is, they fear it. Now, with that being said, Deku, yeah. He's a very, very famous pro. Since a lot of villains, they are afraid of the overwhelming power one single man can possess. Now, we do actually have Deku, who, right now, he's sitting down to dinner with his family. His beautiful wife, his young son, his daughter, and, well, people he does remember. Deku turning his head. As you'd actually have where on a park bench, he does see two people, Seisho and Yoshi. Both the two are sitting next to each other, and having a conversation. Now, Deku's focus, it does get snapped back whenever Mosa does actually ask him a question. What is it? I asked if you were okay. You seemed in focus. Deku turning his head. Back to the park bench, which now sits empty. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.